Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cavalier Family Show. Today, in this show, it's we don't have a special guest, which is okay. It's Lee and I both. As some of you already know, we are an independent studio, and on the show, we will be discussing life entertainment from the big screen movies down to our favorite independent films, TV shows, cartoons, and video games. First off, we'd like to thank Kevin Holmes, who did the intro and outro video, along with Justin Dye, who's created many of the musical elements as well. Now, some of you may already know Justin Dye. Kevin, we hope to have in the future, as well as a lot of many other Cavalier Family group members as well. So then that way everybody can get to know them a little bit more and know a little bit of history on that. As far as updates go, of course, we still have the Cavalier Family shop. With the link description down below, which of course houses all of our merchandise such as shirts, coffee mugs, sweaters, sweatpants, blankets. I know there's leggings in there as well, fanny packs as well, and obviously much more is up and running as well. Too, in terms of just not the logo from this show, which is the main tuxedo, but of course you have the other designs from the other shows. I will put in a little disclaimer though. Unfortunately, I do understand that the post had kind of have a Captain Marvel thing to it. Fortunately, that one was blocked from the merchandise store because it thought that we were stealing, copyright material, which, I'm not going to fight that because of the fact that, number one, it is Marvel. So, respect where it's giving. But in future, that may be on the merchandise shelves. You just never know. I just want to throw that out there first off and foremost. Now, if you haven't bought a shirt yet, go for it because all products sold, all the funding and everything goes towards independent filming. The show, like here, because we do pay a third party to go ahead and run the show as well. In addition to that, it will help get funding to run the podcast too. So every episode that you see here, if you do not have time to actually watch it, once we have the podcast running, then obviously every single episode will be uploaded from that point forward. So again, go ahead, even if it's as simple as a sticker, that's only $5. Some of the portions obviously come to us, and then the fulfillment's done by Teespring directly, and they will go ahead and get that sent out to you. But again, all funding goes to all those projects. And with that in mind, we'll go ahead and get started. As I said originally, my name is Todd, and as you can see here, we have my co-host slash main host as well as Lee. Lee, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good, sir. Doing great.
That's good. That's good. I do understand that your life has been kind of hectic, like myself. Um, so a lot of these shows, of course, will be planned ahead of time. And if there is any challenges, then of course we'll go ahead and record them early on and then schedule them to upload later. Now, as far as discussing goes, because I know in the first portion of the show we talk about recent movies, video games, anything of that nature that we actually played. I know that originally we were supposed to discuss Dune. Unfortunately, I do know that with time restraints, you weren't able to do it. So we're going to kind of play it along with my perception on it, my feedback. And then, of course, when Lee has the opportunity to see it, then he'll go ahead and give his 2 cents in. I don't believe he has seen the 80s version, the 1984 version. Okay, so you have. So I have not. That version never actually interested me when I was little and everything of that nature. But case if a lot of you do not know, Dune is actually based on a book that was written in August of 1965 is when it was published, written by Frank Herbert. The second book to that was Dune Messiah. Third book was Children of Dune. It's actually a 23 book series run. And it actually so far has ended with the Lady Caladan in 2021. Now, a lot of books are not in chronological order. There is a website that you can look it up, and it'll give you all those books in chronological order in case if you're interested in reading. A little brief history on the book as well. It has inspired many sci-fi movies and books that we know today. Just like George Lucas and Star Wars, that's actually one of the inspirations that he got was from that book. And the biggest thing from that, and I will tell you right off the bat, is the Jedi mind trick. If you've seen the movie, if you've read the book, then you understand that a lot of the characters have a special ability where they can tell you to do something and then you do it. It's almost identical to the Jedi mind trick. The only difference is um, instead of tapping into the Dune Force, I guess it kind of has to be similar to that, but it has to be a different pitch, a different level of your volume of your voice. So, of course, the first movie of Dune came out in 1984. It was directed by David Lynch. It starred Kyle um, MacLachlan. Machallan. It, if you know how to pronounce that last name, I don't. McClatchin. He's from Twin Peaks. He's a dude from the original Twin Peaks. Virginia Madsen, who was actually the starred in Candyman, the first one and the original. Then Francesca Ennis, Sir Patrick Stewart, and Sting. So those are some of the big hitters that was actually in the original movie. Again, I didn't see that movie, so I don't know and how I could compare it to that one to this one. I mean, you've seen the movie. What is your insight on the older one?
So, like, when the movie came out, like, it was one of those movies where it was taken kind of like a twist in 1984. So you got to keep in mind when that movie broke out. Think of some of the other movies that was popular back in the early 80s, late 70s. Can we just say Star Wars? Can we also say Star Trek? So,
Mhm,
like movies that came out that was, I guess, considered then and even now like a masterpiece. Then you have this movie called Dune that comes out. First of all, the title just doesn't fit. I mean, e- even when you say it, Dune, it's like you don't use that word in a normal day. You have Star Wars or Star Trek.
mhm,
You're thinking Star. So when I watched the movie, I thought it was okay. I'll probably go back and watch it again because I believe it does come out on HBO Max tomorrow. The original one does. So you can actually watch that one too. It does have some amazing actors and actresses.
mhm.
One name I do want to bring up that unfortunately a lot of people probably know, but don't really know, and that's the one and only Dean Stockwell. He played on Quantum Leap,
Mhm.
um, just for the whole season, pretty much. You also had Linda Hunt, which a lot of people will know that voice of Linda Hunt because if I'm not mistaken, she was the small little woman in the Disney movie Incredibles, like that secret
Oh, okay.
agent. So, I mean, it does have big names on it. It did wanna hit big, but unfortunately, you're talking, you know, a very unique movie with an interesting twist. The main character, Paul, ends up like pretty much adopting superhuman powers. Technically, back then, people was just thinking that it was a mimic of religion at the time because in the movie they thought he was like a messiah slash a
Mhm.
god. So you have to keep that in mind. There was a lot of different point of views back then compared to now. I think it's going to be more respected now. Now the new one is more enticing to watch versus, not a lot of great movies. I guess standalone great movies like Star Wars have come out, for many years. So I think people are going to be more relaxed.
That's interesting. Yeah, see, I was never interested in the 1980s one, and I don't know why. It could have been the animation, it could have just been the feel of the film. But no, I agree. And it's kind of funny on how, Star Trek, Star Wars that were inspired by Dune, the book. So it's kind of funny that that actually happens to fall in that category. Now, as far as the new version of the movie of Dune, it is directed by and partially written by Dennis Villeneuve. And the composer is Hans Zimmer. Now, if you don't know that name, then you should know that name. It's the same guy who was the composer for the music for Gladiator, Wonder Woman 1984, Pearl Harbor, Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy as well, and many more. The dude is amazing, and you can tell just by the music. There is it's so heavy in the bass and in the brass that it just fits everything. It just fits everything within that actual movie itself. Um, in addition to that, of course, there's a sequence in there where the big battle happens, and it's very much like a Braveheart feel with like that Scottish type musical element to it, and it's weird because all the music before that didn't it fit perfectly, and this one is like, oh, okay, this is a little different, but it still fits perfectly within there. Some of the stars that are in the movie is, of course, the Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, which you know from The Greatest Showman. She's the redhead that sings in that one. Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, Stellan Skarsgård. If you don't know who that guy is, he is actually the father to Bill Skarsgård, the Pennywise dancing clown from It, the actor in that one. Alexander Skarsgård, True Blood, as well as he is the guy in the Marvel movies and Thor as the professor as well. So that is who Skarsgård is. And then, of course, you have Stephen McKinley Henderson, which you'll know his face. I know his face because I've seen him in other things, like the movie Lincoln he's in. But he's definitely one of those actors that you're like, oh, I know that guy just by the face himself. Josh Brolin is in the movie. Javier Bardem, if you don't know who that is the lead actor in No Country for Old Men, the creepy guy who talks about flipping a coin. He was also in Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tells No Tales. He was the pirate that had the curse on him that was very much, it looked like if he got burnt alive, basically. And of course, Dave Bautista as well is in the movie. Now, this is only a first party movie, and I feel like they're definitely going along the lines of the book. I've never written the book, so for those of you who have, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell us like what is different because I'm interested to know. At this point, I'm not a book reader in general, so at this point, I'm probably not going to read any of the books. Just throwing it out there, especially on how thick it is. But it is going to be a two-parter. Now, as far as the special abilities go, it's a little different than the 1980s one because you said that he kind of just gained the powers in a way. This one goes in a little bit more detail about how he got the actual powers themselves, and what it is it's kind of like the old style of medieval times where families would interconnect with one another, like like combined bloodlines, really. So you have like these two bloodlines that actually connected at one point to make a stronger individual, and he is considered like, aka in the movie, the Messiah, because he does have those special abilities where he could see into the future. He knows what happened, so he could change the future. He has their version of the Jedi's Jedi mind trick. And a lot of vehicles too is kind of similar to those as well. Their rovers, I guess, is very similar to the rovers that the Jawas were rode in Tatooine. So that's very similar as well. Um, so there are actually a lot of those elements that are in there that you could see and like, oh, I can gather that and compare that to that. Now it's a whole different story because you always have to remember that those other stories that we grew to love is all inspired by this. So during the time period, Mr. Frank Herbert had an extraordinary imagination because, I mean, look at other things that inspire people, other books. I mean, Stephen King has inspired many people who have done like their own storytelling and whether if it's book writing or script writing. James Wan, like all those guys. Um,
Because the new It was not, written well, the idea came from a Stephen King movie or book, but it had nothing to do with Stephen King, correct?
no, so the It movie. Now here's the thing: you have the TV ABC version. That was a two-parter that had um, ah, what's his face? I'm so sorry. Um, I'm looking it up right now because Tim Curry. I don't know why I didn't remember his name, but Tim Curry is in the movie. So is Seth Green actually, and I feel like because I have the book on audio, and I feel like the ABC version was a little bit more closer to the book than the rated R version. But the rated R version was able to get away with a hell of a lot more stuff than the ABC version because, of course, ABC was TV only. This was in the movie theaters itself. And actually, the inspiration from the clown It was John Wayne Gacy. So that's what inspired Stephen King to write that.
Oh, and I do wanna apologize, I think I said something incorrectly earlier. So,
Like
Linda
what?
Hunt, the connection that she had with The Incredibles was actually not her. They are proclaiming that Linda Hunt was the, um, kinda like the inspiration for the
Hmm.
Edna, which
Okay.
is the cartoon name for her.
Yeah.
But there has been battles back and forth that either it was Linda Hunt or Edith Head, which was also a Hollywood movie costume designer.
Hmm.
But if you watch Linda Hunt in the movie Kindergarten Cop, and I believe she was the principal, if I'm not mistaken, you'll see some similar resemblance to the Kindergarten Cop principal or the role that she plays in Kindergarten Cop, just in case I'm wrong on that one too, to the Edna, which is in Incredibles. So just for any movie
Okay.
buff, just keep in mind, guys, I'm an average Joe. So
But yeah, like I know we, have a lot of differences as far as movie likes and dislikes. You liked Endgame less than you did Infinity War. I like them both.
oh, don't say that name.
So with this though, I feel like you're gonna really like it, especially with you coming with the big speakers in your home and stuff. Like it has the theater element to it. I wish I was able to see it in the theater, but of course, it's kind of hard when you're running a business, you're working a full time job, and my wife is completely supportive as well as love my kids, but they take precedent over going to a movie theater. So that's why I'm thankful for HBO Max and being able to see it on the phone or the TV at moments because of course you have that ability to even see movies. If more subscriptions would be able to do that, aka one that has a plus in it, then of course more people would gravitate to that. Now, I do understand that this is the last year that, from my understanding, is HBO Max is no longer doing the free movies next year, but I could be mistaken. I know Peacock, right, is the other one.
I think so. I've
Yeah,
I've heard of it. I'm not too much into movies.
yeah, Peacock, the other streaming service, their movies are free if you have premium, which is how I was able to watch the Halloween Kills movie. But regardless, going back to Dune, obviously, that's why what we're talking about here. It's very, it's action packed at moments. And I feel like for every character that ends up, of course, dying, and obviously, if you've seen the 1980s one, you know who's going to die in this one. For every character that dies, you have an equal amount of time to actually get to know them a little bit more and actually know, not really fall in love with the character where it's like such a huge impact that you're crushed by it, but an impact that, like, oh, they died. Well, that kind of sucks type aspect to it. But yeah, I know that you'll absolutely love it, especially with the sound, with the as far as music goes, the action packed version of it, the clarity and the filmography as far as cinematography goes, beautiful, absolutely
So
beautiful.
for everybody out there, the speaker system that he's talking about, yes, I have invested in a nice speaker system, but there's reasons behind that. I've always loved music and I always loved sound. And Todd, you know that. I was just so sick and tired of my car being broken into and all the stuff being taken after you start enjoying it. So I was like, you know what? Forget it. Stop spending money in the car. And I ended up buying a new truck and come to find out they already changed out the aftermarket radio. So I was like, God bless it.
Mhm.
Now it's more attention to my truck. But yes, I cannot wait. I got to, like I said, switch a fiber optic cable to make the surround sound switch to the TV to the speakers, and then I should be good to go.
And if anybody's curious, Lee lives in Portland, New York, and that is a lie, obviously, because I'm not just going to tell everybody on where he lives. So there you go. So yeah, no, I believe that you're honestly going to really enjoy it, and you can watch it, and then get back to us as well as far as what you thought, and then. In all honesty, you can easily compare it from the older one to the newer one. I don't think I'm still going to watch the older one, um, but absolutely, definitely, the new one's going to be right there.
Yeah.
All right. So, with that out of the way, is there anything that you wanted to discuss?
No. Like I said, I've been very, very busy. Of course, now pulling in 2 jobs versus the one that I used to when we started the show, so,
Right.
it may seem like I'm slacking, but trust me, life and being father and husband and, "Oh my gosh, our washer just broke today," kinda mentality. I'm like, "Oh god." So, yeah, I'm very eager to watch it. Once I get the cable switched, that I'm dedicated, like, nobody's gonna interrupt me.
That's funny because we actually had a dryer issue, so there you go. We had a washer issue, we have a dryer issue, and we
Yours
could
is
pretty
not
much tag team.
Samsung, is it?
I don't know. It's whatever the condominium place actually has.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So with that, of course, going in the middle of the section, if you want to support us, we honestly highly suggest just clicking that link to go to our shop and support us that way. Wear a shirt, buy a sticker, buy a fanny pack, buy a sweater, buy leggings, buy a cup. There's a coffee cup, there's a glass cup. Like there's practically everything there. And of course, again, profits go towards everything that you see here. Also, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, whatever you have, because the more the followers, the more ability that we have to share as well. And with that in mind, we now go back in time to the year 2019. All right. And with every back in time segment, we go over the top 5 TV shows, cartoons, toys, and top grossing movies. Now, sometimes in some of the other shows, we do or have done the top 5 Billboard charts as far as music goes out of the Billboard 100. That's usually only for the 1980s and 1990s because, unfortunately, with the research, it's a little bit harder to get toys specifically in that era because all you get is famous toys from the 1980s or famous toys from the 1990s. So if you have a year in mind, just go ahead and leave a comment below to let us know what year you want to see us to cover next. And then, of course, we'll do our best to get that as soon as possible because we do our shows ahead of time as well. Um, and of course, this week we don't have music on the list, but we do have toys themselves. So with that, Lee, did you want to go first? You want me to go start us off?
I'll go. Can I pick a topic?
You know what? Actually, we've never done that before, so go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna pick the top toys. The top toys. This was okay. So when we pick the top toys, now this is not gonna include any type of video game console or video games. So for all you gamers out there, sorry leaving you out on this. But all the power to you guys. I still play every once in a while. But the top toys list came from the csnbc.com. At the top, it was Disney's Frozen Ultimate. Um, I have no idea.
Arendelle.
There you go. Castle playset. Coming in second was My Robotic Pet, Tumbling Hedgehog. Three was Marvel's Avengers Endgame Power Gauntlet. And then Star Wars Screen Saver Lightsaber. Then you had pulling up the bottom of the list, but still an amazing toy. This is the one that I do remember seeing a lot of was the Paw Patrol Super Mighty Pups Lookout Tower. And honestly, out of all those, the one that even pulls my attention, like coming from a toy aspect, regardless of, oh, that is cool, just the concept of it, I just thought it was pretty darn amazing to see Paw Patrol, the Lookout Tower. I've always loved those type of toys, even when I was growing up, where you can almost be inside the movie, and then you can just sit down, while your parents are watching TV and you can play with your tower and you can, in this case, pups jumping around and you saving the day kind of thing. There's not too much you can play with a gauntlet other than going tag mom, you're it, or mom freeze kind of thing. So,
Well, your
um,
kid loves Paw Patrol too, doesn't?
yeah, he actually does. He likes Chase. He's the police officer, and I think Rubble is the construction pup. I always liked him. I always liked his little bulldozer. But I guess once you watch some cartoons back in like the '80s and '90s, like I had,
Hmm.
it's very rare for us to look at a cartoon the same. But I've always liked Paw Patrol. Had a good message behind it. Helping out each other, and I thought it was kind of the best part about Paw Patrol. I know it's slightly off topic, but the one thing I loved about Paw Patrol is when there was an issue, not the whole team always went.
Mhm.
And to me, that was important because it's kinda like, when something happens in life, you don't need everybody in the family or all your friends to help you out. You're gonna go to one specific person going, "Hey, I need your help with this," because you're
Mhm.
going with the expert advice or you're going with their knowledge,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, it's kinda like it's never an all group in real life. It's not like the same 5 friends always hang out to go do something. I always had that 1 or 2 idiot kind of friends, and I could have been that one idiot of a friend that always did dumb stuff when people wanted to be serious, but
Right.
Paw Patrol, Tower, I'm glad that it made the top 5.
Yeah, and of course, with the Infinity Gauntlet, I know the Infinity Gauntlet because of the fact of I actually played around with it a little bit um, when it actually first came out, and it's actually really cool. It is a lot of fun. I would honestly say it's just exactly what you said. It's not a toy to go ahead and play around with. It's cool to show your friends, but then um, otherwise, it's not one to play with just because of the fact that it is from the Hasbro line, and I think that Hasbro line is Legacy. Um, but of course, with that, again, it's just something that you wouldn't necessarily play around with, as it is more have so with the display, kind of very similar to the expensive lightsabers for Star Wars. I believe there has are they Hasbro too? I think they may be Hasbro
Not too
too.
sure.
But of course, it's like more the finer ones, like the $200 ones, and something that you don't want to really play with, though you can. It's just not recommended because of the fact that it could break and then you're out.
Yeah, I mean, there was some Star Wars lightsabers, back in the day. Toys R Us sold them, and every time you swung them and hit them, they were hard plastic,
Yep.
and they would make the noise as you would shake them. Well, if you bought them at Toys R Us, Toys
Hmm.
R Us would offer you an extended service plan.
Hmm.
So if they broke, you just take it back and they issue a new one or the money back.
Hmm.
Um, Unfortunately, Toys R Us kind of closed down. But
Yeah.
for the most part, we actually replaced 2 of them. One of my little guys swung it and I blocked it with mine and mine bent. And I'm like, oh, well.
Well, yeah, because it's the one with the tubes, right? And I'm
Yeah.
not going to do that hand motion again, but it's the one with the tubes themselves, where
Yeah.
it just kind of interconnects with one another. So there's nothing really sturdy to actually hold them in place, as it is just once it pops out, then it just pops out. That you can easily pull it out too. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's great for kids though, because I mean you can hit them. Well, they can hit you technically, but they also can hit it against things. They can, and it does some damage. Like baby sister shouldn't be hitting baby brother with it, or big brother shouldn't be hitting little sibling type deal, or the dogs. But it's a lot better than the more expensive ones, the more
Hmm.
expensive versions, where of course it is hard plastic type situation where if you hit somebody, then it's going to hurt,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you hit it with all your strength.
Yep.
And I mean, because it's not close to, it's not glass, but it's definitely hard, and it's not plexiglass either, but it's like right there in between. So, but hey, I have one. It's nice looking. It's cool looking. The handle is heavy, and I like it. So I got the money's worth, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I like I said, I like the lightsabers. They were fun, especially when somebody in your family is being a pain in the butt. You just whack it out, where it extends out, and then you
Mhm.
just smack them in the back of the head, and then you just look at you, be like, lightsaber did it. I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, to move along, I we're obviously saving the top movies for last. I'll go ahead and go next and do the top TV shows. I'll leave the cartoons to you. So, as far as the top TV shows, the top five, it comes from USA Today .com, and the first one is I don't really count this as a show, just because of the fact that it is a sporting thing, and sports goes all the time. Um, and I mean, it's not based on like seasons. I mean, yeah, games and sports go off of seasons, but I'm talking like TV show seasons. So number one was Sunday slash Thursday and Monday Night Football. Again, I don't really count that as like a TV show, though it is, just because when you think of a TV show, you think of a story, you think of characters, not big, muscly guys like pounding one another with shoulder pads and tackling one another. So though it's number one, just wanted to throw that out there because I added actually six and not five to this list because number two is NCIS. Number three is FBI. Number four is Blue Bloods. Number five is Chicago Fire. And number six, and this is the reason why I put it, is because of the fans out there. The fans love this show. I've never seen this show, but I also don't want to cry every single time when I watch this show either. And of course, that TV show is called This Is Us. Of course, it has Mandy Moore. You know her from as a singer, as an actress, everything of that nature. Rapunzel, Road to Redemption, or yeah, Redemption. I think is the one where you find out that she has cancer, and then you end up crying. So I mean, it's if you love that movie, then you'll love this TV show, I guess. But yeah, a lot of those TV shows are all like not military based, but very like Chicago Fire. You have firefighters, Blue Buds, FBI. It's like cop based. NCIS, cop based. So it's very like around those job aspects, which was shocking to me because I thought like TV shows, some of them wouldn't come or wouldn't be in that element or that category because you still have The Simpsons, you still have Family Guy, you still have um drama shows too, like Riverdale is another show that's extremely popular, or Arrow or Flash. I mean, Arrow is no longer going, I don't think, but Flash and stuff like that. So I was thinking like more of those would be top, but no, a lot of the shows have to deal with either police officers or firefighters.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about that, but never watched that either. So
Uh-huh. All you fans out there, just tell us what we're missing. I guess just let us know what we're missing on each show. I know NCIS has been going on forever, so I mean, there's always that. Better late start than never, right?
yeah, right. All right, so I guess I'm doing the top cartoons.
hmm
All right, top cartoons. We have Legend of the Three. Oh my God, I can't even read. What is that? Caballeros.
It's we three caballeros, the three caballeros.
Oh, that's right. Now I
Say
realize
we
what it
are
is.
birds of a
It's late.
feather.
Amazing World of Gumball, Rick and Morty, Steven Universe, and Infinity Train. I guess because of everything that started out in 2019, how I think COVID started really hitting hard towards the end of it, or just started towards the end of it, if I'm not mistaken. The only one that I remember even seeing or hearing about is the Rick and Morty, and that's always been popular ever since it came out, pretty much from what I've been told and what I've heard.
Yeah, I've seen advertisements for Gumball because that's Cartoon Network's show. Same with Steven Universe. I've seen, um, commercials for that. Infinity Train, not so much, though. While looking it up, apparently that's on Cartoon Network as well. The Legend of the Three Caballeros, that is on Disney Plus, I think. Um,
Hmm.
well, it's on Disney Plus, but it's also on the Disney Channel too. I think it might be XD or something like that. I could be wrong. I know I'm going to be called out, so call me out if I am wrong. Rick and Morty, I have seen a few episodes. Um, I I do enjoy the show. I haven't seen a lot of episodes. I feel like out of like the three or four episodes I saw, the favorite of mine is Rick and Morty. They go to an alternate universe where it's just them on a planet, and you have cop versions of them. And of course Morty being the kid, he ends up being like a police officer. So you have a whole bunch of Morty police officers, and they go to like the bad side of town in this planet in the city that they're going. And you see a whole bunch of Mortys doing drug deals with like cocaine and heroin and stuff like that. And I laugh so hard because you see Morty, he looks at himself And then the drug dealer Morty, while he's handing the drugs, looks at the cop Morty of himself, and he just gives him like the most evilish look ever. And the police officer Morty gives him the most evilish look ever as well. So it's just the paradox. And well, I mean, I don't think paradox is the right word, but like it's just funny just seeing the same character like doing two different things, and they're like, I understand we're the same person, but if you overstep, I am going to kick your ass type thing. So it's just funny to see that. And of course, they have the one liners in there too. Biggest inspiration was Back to the Future, obviously. I mean, it's obviously Marty McFly and Doc Brown. But if you haven't seen it though, I would honestly recommend to watch a couple of episodes. From my understanding, is that series is ending, um, which was kind of a shocker to me, just because of the fact of how popular, really, that it is, and it's still going too. Like you have board games with it, you have games in general, you have so much merchandise with just Rick and Morty itself. Though I do not, as much as I want to support it, I don't want to support it. And hear me out on this. The reason why is because of the one of the co-creators of it. Now, you know, with that, you can't really throw the fact of creativity out of the window. If you're ever interested, because I can't say it here because we are on YouTube, we are on social media. But if you're ever curious, look up the legal allegations against one of the co-creators um, in Rick and Morty, and it is absolutely disgusting as far as what he did. Now he's came out to apologize and stuff like that, but still, even what he did during that time frame of that year, it's still not good. Um, so that's the only, conflict I have, is because I want to support the show. The episodes I saw was funny, but how far do you want to support it to the point where you're supporting a show with a guy who did what he did type situation? And I don't know if you looked it up currently as I'm talking here,
No,
but
I haven't.
so I would honestly, yeah, I
To
would
me,
look it up.
honestly, like, I guess for me, since I'm not into actors, actresses, and producers and co-producers and volunteers and stunt people and, special thanks to you, I don't care. But I do support, anybody who does support ethics and morals outside the production of something. And that can go a long way depending on what you're watching. So, um, I mean, good for you. Bottom line, that shows that you have integrity and shows that you have morals. So that's great. But I mean, like I said, I've watched one, maybe two parts of two different episodes, but I have no intent of going back. My intent is definitely not to watch cartoons currently. The only cartoons I actually been watching recently is Scooby Doo, and that's pretty much it. And
Yeah,
I still love Scooby Doo.
my daughter has been going on to that My Little Pony movie that's on Netflix. So obviously you have boys, so I don't know if they're interested in any of that. But very catchy songs, because it's gonna be my day one of these days. And if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I did send you that link as far as the information on that too. The Rick and Morty guy. Um, so you can see, honestly, the actual conflict itself. But yeah, so with that in mind, I understand, we did the cartoons, we've done the TV shows, we've done the toys. Now let's go to and jump to our top grossing movies of 2019. This list is from IMDb directly. So as far as the year 2019, as far as the top 5 list goes, I'm surprised, but not surprised at the same time, because there were heavy hitters, just like last week with TJ from 1989. There were heavy hitters in this year. Now, some of them is like, really, it just didn't gross that much. But yeah, honestly, some of these were less than heavy hitters and shockingly not as popular. Like to start off, one of the famous movies that did not make the top five is Star Wars Episode 9 Rise of Skywalker. Last movie of the Skywalker saga, unfortunately. And then Spider Man Far From Home, Joker, It Chapter 2. The one that surprised me the most, though, was Creed 2. Of course, that one has Michael B. Jordan, Sylvester Stallone. It's the second movie to the first Creed movie. That shocked me because that was actually really low on the bottom of the list. But yeah, like Rise of Skywalker, I thought that was going to be number one, or at least in the top fives. No, that bad boy is like number seven or number eight. Um, but what did make the top five, of course, is Avengers Endgame going 858 million, which at that point, it was definitely a race between who can get more money, either Avengers or James Cameron's Avatar, which is funny because both of those are owned by Disney because Avatar is Fox. So that was definitely a punching game to see who gets number one. First, it was Avatar, then Endgame, and then apparently Avatar came out in theaters for a selected time just to beat Avengers, and that was like months after the Avengers left the theater. Um, let's see here, and then you have The Lion King, the John Favreau movie that grossed 543 million. You had Toy Story 4 that grossed 434 million. You have Frozen 2, 477 million, which actually that should be number three. So that and Toy Story 4 should actually be flopped. But again, this is going off of IMDb, and then Captain Marvel, which was 426. So what I'm thinking is the way that they based everything off of was not global, but just here in the U.S. And of course, everybody knows Avengers Endgame and all of that. The only gripe I have is Toy Story 4. Have you seen it?
Hmm.
And to me, is it wasn't needed at all. They could have ended it at three. Though I like the continuation and the concept of the idea of number four is okay, listen, we grew up with Andy. This is a whole new kid. So why not, just like Star Wars, start it off with a new kid and have a different story? But there's so much that you can have, right? Like first you have Woody and Buzz, right? You have two people not really friends who become friends at the end, but it's Woody saving Buzz. The second one, you find out more about Woody and then Buzz going to try to save Woody. And the third one, now all the toys are lost, right? And then how are they going to get back to Andy? Which, of course, spoiler, but not really because this thing has been out for a decade. So Andy, of course, goes to college, gives his toys to Bonnie, and then starts a new chapter. In this one, I think when I looked at the trailer, I was like, okay, Bonnie, new story, new kid. Okay, great for this generation, right? But the story wise, I think that they kind of missed on a few key elements because, of course, Woody is now no longer in the picture. He is with Bo Peep, which I like that premise though. The fact that we finally got Bo Peep, um, and with Bo Peep, of course, it kind of fills in the gap between where she was with the third movie. But there's something about it that I just that didn't click for me.
I agree. When I watched the fourth one, I wasn't as entertained. I don't know if it's because it's almost when you see something for the first time, like when Toy Story came out in movie theaters, like 90s, I believe,
Mhm.
um, late 90s, that was pretty much the first of its kind. And it set that bar for, oh my God, where are these movies going to now? Like Toy Story, that's the best movie ever. Now keep in mind, I know like my title is The Average Joe. I watched that movie like 5 or 6 times in the movie theater.
Mhm.
Um, and it wasn't intentional. It just so happened that one was because I wanted to see it, with a really close friend. The second one, I think, some of my nieces and nephews wanted to go see it, so I took them. Then the next one was I went on a date with one girl, and she wanted to see it, so I didn't tell her that I saw it a few other times before that. And then another time I went out with a group of friends, and all the friends said, "Lee, let's watch Toy Story." And my first thought was like, "Shit." And sure enough, I had to watch it again, and I think that was, like, one more time that I saw it that year, because by that time, I was already quoting the lines, and people was like, "Have you seen this movie?" And I'm like, Yeah."
No.
So, yeah, I think, with Toy Story and, it was a great production. Pixel did amazing. But when it came out to Toy Story 4, we've already seen the imagery, the
Mhm,
graphics, the computer generated everything, and now you have to keep me enticed with the storyline.
mhm.
And when they were starting over with a brand new storyline, I think that's where they lost a lot of people. Just because it was just like, oh, this again, new storyline, not too entertaining, just a different take on it. All right, whatever. But
Mhm.
yeah, I do agree. Toy Story to me, Toy Story 4 was not as good as some of the other ones, but I think it got that high because of Toy Story.
Oh, absolutely. Now hear me out. I think it would be different too if Bonnie and her family went to Europe, because if she went to Europe and took some toys with her and the toys got lost, yeah, it's the same exact story, but you're in a different element. Let's say Italy and Venice with all the water, right? Different element. You have water all around you, so you get to see the toys in a different element and having to interact. And there could be Italian toys too that they have to interact with as well. Or why not, Germany or England?
Ooh, a
Um,
Swedish Barbie. Wow,
I mean,
that'd
there
be
you
hot.
go. Or Australia as well. Like, why not? Why does it have to be all centralized? Why not just take that story and move it to like overseas? It's the same story. Yeah, the toys get lost. That's what happens with the other ones, but it's a different location. And I know that they tried to do that with like the whole fair and stuff like that, but it just I mean, it kind of goes back to Justin when we had Justin on here as a guest and talking about video games. Like you had the NES and then you had Super NES. And with the Super NES, graphic wise was phenomenal, right? And then you go from the Super NES to N64. So with every game system, it was a jump, jump, jump. And then now if you go into like for an example, Halo. I love Halo. Halo is one of my favorite games. But if they made it to jump, like how if you look at Halo 1 and then Halo 4, right, or the new one that's coming out, Infinite, huge difference.
Mhm.
And I think that those movies are just missing that jump, that newness to it. And I think if they would have went to like someplace like England or Australia, it would have had that difference to it.
I do agree. When especially when you're that far out, like number 4, it has to have like a refreshness. I mean, think of Star Wars. I had 3 episodes. A 4th
Hmm.
episode, no offense, probably would have sucked. But what they did was they changed the whole timestamp of when Star Wars 4, per se came out, which
Hmm.
ended up being the first one, right? It went back to 1.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kinda, like, started this whole new aspect of Star Wars, whole new story, but it had just enough connection to 4, 5, 6
Yep.
that, that it was just like, "Oh, now why are they going back?" And then by the time that end of the movie, they still had you hooked.
Hmm.
They had that cliffhanger at the end going, "Crap, now I do have to see the" at that point, I have to see the 5th one, to make
Hmm.
sure that I understand the first one again, and, because they did so well, I'm very positive many people had to go watch 4, 5, and 6 again, going, "Crap, I
Yeah.
gotta go watch Return of the Jedi again, I don't
Hmm.
remember that part," so
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we can probably talk a lot about Toy Story 4. Frozen 2, I enjoyed it. Story development with Elsa, great. And then of course that brings us Avengers Endgame. I love it. We know that you don't like it. It's okay. Again, we have a full episode on that. But now that actually brings us to our next segment, which is sell me a movie.
Hello there, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and children.
All right. So with this, I know I'm big screen. However, and I don't know why that timer is still going on. I don't know why,
Well, you better
It
hurry
must
up
be a
and sell me a
glitch.
movie in 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Go.
Well, here's the
Oh, you
thing.
cheated.
Yeah, I'm backing it up, dude. It's messing up. All right, so do you want me to go first then?
I mean, you already wasted 5 seconds. Will you stop backing up and just go with the flow, man? Let's go.
All right, fine. I'll go. So the movie that I picked for Sell Me a Movie, and for those of you who don't know, we well, I'm just gonna go and then explain everything later. I picked The Lion King, the one that was directed by John Favreau, and you may know that name because he's the same guy who actually started the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's the one that fought for Robert Downey Jr. to play Tony Stark. So he did Iron Man. He was the other one that saved the Star Wars universe with the Mandalorian. Um, Live action version, though, of course, Rebels, Clone Wars, they have their own right. Um, the live action Jungle Book, which is actually cinematography wise, the animation phenomenal. And then, of course, this all started because he was filming with his friend Vince Vaughn in Swingers from 1996, and that's what started his little jump. As far as composers go, you do have Hans Zimmerman. Hans Zimmerman, you may know him, or I'm sorry, not Zimmerman, but Hans Zimmer. Scratch that out. We spoke about him earlier, who did the composer of Dune. And then, of course, your stars has James Earl Jones, John Oliver, Seth Rogen, Donald Glover, Beyonce, Alfred Woodward, Chiwetel Ejiofor. I have no idea what I just said there. I know I got his name wrong. But he was in 12 Years a Slave. Now, why did I pick this movie? Yeah, I could have went with Avengers Endgame, but that was just selling the movie when it was already sold. The Lion King I picked because it was definitely one of those movies where you sat down and again, graphics. John Favreau did an amazing job on the graphics and the storytelling. If you love the original cartoon Lion King, you will absolutely love this one. Storytelling is the same. It makes it more realistic as well to see the lions interact with one another. And the whole Mufasa dying scene it hits you, I feel, in a harder moment as well. They also fill in a lot of gaps too, as far as some questionable moments too. Now there are a few things that, like every movie in Hollywood, whenever they do a remake or live action, it's kind of like, okay, did they really have to put that or change that? But I'm not joking. If you like the cartoon, you'll love this one. It's definitely something that if you're a movie buff, you have to own the movie. If you don't have Disney Plus, because of the fact of the animation alone is absolutely phenomenal. John Favreau did an amazing job. From my understanding, is with the Jungle Book in this movie, he partnered with some video game animators and creators in order to get that look as well. Some of the songs are in there as well. Some of your favorite songs too. So that's great to hear. Nostalgia bringing back to the kids, as well as all-star cast. So definitely go see it. Um, and again, I'll just take off the timer because for some reason that keeps going. But yeah, I do know that my timer was screwed up. So basically, sell me a movie is we pick a movie out of the top 5 and we try to sell it to you guys. Lee, I do understand that you are up next. So I will give you a countdown, or whenever you're ready, let me know. And I'll try and start the clock back where it's supposed to.
Oh, just hit the button. I'm ready, dude.
Okay, switch screens, done, and go.
Okay, so the movie I picked was Captain Marvel. I picked this one for a reason. When I went into it, a lot of people said, "Oh, it's an okay movie." I heard multiple complaints about it. Then I've heard a whole bunch of other stuff about it, about the attitude of some of the actresses. Brie
Hmm.
Larson, who actually plays Carol. And, for me and how we discuss the show from episode 1, I don't listen to critics. I don't listen to that crap at all. I just want to go in and watch the movie. And the one thing that I thought was pretty impressive was how powerful she was. I really was never a Captain Marvel fan. Growing up, even with comics, it's not like the first superhero. Growing up when we were younger, it was, Superman, Batman, Spider Man, Captain America, Iron Man. And that was pretty much all of them. And that was it. The one thing I liked about Captain Marvel is it literally put a whole different twist on a superhero. One, that she's female and females can kick as much ass as a male. And just the overall aspect of the whole movie and how it intertwined with the whole MCU to me was amazing. It's if you think about it, they had to introduce a whole brand new superhero, and not just any superhero. It wasn't a Thor, it wasn't Hulk. People who recognize the names, it was Captain Marvel. And I bet you 50% of all the people who watch Captain Marvel was in my shoes going, "Who the hell is Captain Marvel?" Like, I've heard of that name. I don't even know what the superpowers is. So, what I thought was kind of interesting is how powerful they made her. Now, I know that I'm trying to sell a movie. You guys have to watch it just because of how she uses her power, how she develops it, and how she becomes a human. And she's genuinely, stuck in a circumstance where she can't figure out herself what's happening. She has this great power, but somebody's trying to tell her to use it. Then that, spoiler alert, then that kind of flips the story a little bit. But I think the movie was well put together, especially for action packed. I mean, it has planes, jets, lasers, flying in outer space, invisible people, a
Yeah.
cat that eats other things, so, and I'm a cat lover, and I thought that was like the best scene ever. So hopefully we see a cat back in another MCU movie. I think that would be pretty darn amazing how if that cat showed up somewhere else. Too bad, Nick Fury may actually leave the scene and be afraid that he might lose the other eye. Spoiler alert there too. But for the most part, go see the movie. Seriously, I've watched it 4 times, and I could probably watch it again tonight and pick up something different on it. It's a great movie.
Nice.
Okay, now that I'm done selling the movie, let me add something to everybody out there. So, when you looked at Captain Marvel, and this is an interesting thing I was pulling up too, everybody is complaining that Captain Marvel is the most powerful superhero in the MCU. What's kind of interesting though is when Captain Marvel was technically invented, they weren't taken in consideration one of our previous conversations. Do you remember that argument we had
Mm,
about the
remind me,
MCU versus something else?
like the DC,
Mm-mm.
DCEU,
Another set of movies that I said was put together better than Marvel?
Lord of the Rings.
No, X-Men.
Oh
Okay.
no.
So, let me throw this one at you. Captain Marvel
Uh-huh.
versus Jean Grey in Dark Phoenix. And all I have to say is ouch.
See that's
Because Captain Marvel came out before technically the invention of Dark Phoenix. And if you really want to really get nitty-gritty, you can even throw in Storm because her superpowers are extremely strong. Now, I don't think she's strong enough to take either of those two, but her output of powers of Storm is extremely strong. But I
see
will take Dark Phoenix and Jean Grey any day over Captain Marvel. Don't care.
see I would have to disagree because like Captain Marvel, like she basically has a force field, and the whole thing with the Phoenix Force does come from not Earth like type. But then no,
See, Dark Phoenix
see,
cannot
here's the
control
thing
her
though.
powers, though.
In the comic books, though, the Phoenix, the ability of the Phoenix, she is stronger. It is one of the strongest supernatural abilities that you can have. So yes, I
Mm.
will agree as far as Captain Marvel goes. The Phoenix ability is stronger than her and would wipe her out. Um, Storm, Captain Marvel, Jean Grey herself, though, Captain Marvel. If
But see, I think the one thing that Marvel never hits on, and correct me if I'm wrong, super fan, Marvel themselves don't have any telepathic individuals like Professor Xavier or Jean Grey. Unless you go very like outside galaxy crap in the MCU, you might find somebody out there, right? I
Mhm.
think it's that one guy with the big head. Don't know his name. A movie's coming out with him though. He's like really small with a huge head. He's a supervillain,
Are
and
you
he's
talking
con
about MODOK?
yes. So
MODOK, he got his special ability because of an explosion, really,
yeah, and
an
apparently
experiment.
MODOK actually has a movie coming out soon. So, other than MODOK that I can really remember even growing up, MCU really doesn't have any telepathic people. And you have to keep this in mind. Telepathic, the Professor Xavier had what was it, Cerebro, if I remember correctly?
Cerebro, yeah.
Okay. Now, this is what I'm saying is when people get all hyped and like say Captain Marvel is the strongest, no, because every superhero has a weakness.
Oh
And
yeah,
I was reading an
like
article, and sorry for DC fans out there. I was reading an article, don't know how true it is, but I thought it was interesting because I kept on going deeper and deeper, and I might be missing some details. But they said if two superheroes battled each other, there is one superhero that can actually beat the so-called Green Lantern, and that's Groot. Because something to do with wood can penetrate through anything that Green Lantern has. Now, I was reading that, and there was like a whole article on it, and it kind of threw me for a loop. And if we went to DC, which I don't want to because that would take a whole nother segment, Green Lantern is one of my favorite from
mhm.
DC, hands down. I just think it's cool, especially a thought process. Like I always love the thinking behind it. But to have Groot, pretty much like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree at times, beat Green Lantern, which is one of my favorite in DC, kind of upset me, but I accepted it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying with the whole Captain Marvel and Jean Grey. I'll take Jean Grey. Sorry. I think she
See,
would mess with her mind way too much. She doesn't have the element to block memories at all. Nothing.
no, but see, that's the thing though. If we're talking about MCU, then Jean Grey is not part of it yet. If we're talking about specifically MCU, then yeah, Captain Marvel hands down. But once X Men gets in there and the Fantastic Four, then no, Captain Marvel is not the strongest. Yeah, it is the mutants specifically, like Jean, uh, the Phoenix Force. I'll say
Mhm.
that. Professor Xavier, yes. And then of course you have one of the smartest brains. You have Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, yes. Because he has the scientific. Because whenever something science related happens, especially in the comic books, they go to Reed Richards or Doc
So,
Well, that was
Reed
before he turned
Richards
into.
versus, Tony Stark?
Well,
Mm,
you can't compare that because of the fact it would be better to compare Reed Richards with Bruce Banner.
fair.
With Tony, he is more of the weapons and elements and stuff like that. If you're looking for scientific wise, then it's definitely Bruce Banner. Um, I- as of right now, I can't really think of a good comparison between, Iron Man and another Marvel character. But as far as minds go, um, it would be, Reed Richards, science, him, Bruce Banner, and then the list goes on because
Mhm.
you also have to think of Victor Von Doom. Victor Von Doom is extremely intelligent as far as the science goes as well. And then you also have Hank Pym too, the particles and stuff like that. So you have like all these guys together in a room, which would be very much a cigar and scotch drinking conversation that you would have no idea what any of the guys are talking about.
So, I got one final thought before we
Okay.
end the show because I know that we're just about to end it.
Mhm.
How many Avengers would it take to beat the Silver Surfer?
Didn't they? I think they did a few episodes on that because the Fantastic Four tried to defeat him and stuff like that. But I think they got help from somebody else because I know the Avengers went to go after Galactus, which Galactus is the basically puppeting the Silver Surfer. The Avengers had to get help from Fantastic Four for that. But as far as Silver Surfer goes, he's basically like higher than Thor in that. Like it's a galactic ability and superpower and
Isn't
stuff
he
like
like
that.
a
Like,
galactic warrior or something? Or
yeah,
like was he like he was part of like some type of society where they were like super intellectual, but they like just the way that they mimic other things and how the idea is, it's almost like he is, of course, an alien, of course, but
mhm.
almost untouchable in certain aspects.
Well, the thing is like when he was living on a normal life in a normal planet, Galactus is the one that came to the Earth and to spare his world. Silver Surfer, uh, I forgot his actual name himself, but he gave up his life to help Galactus to find Earths and to destroy Earths. And Galactus is the one that gave him his special power and his special ability.
Okay.
So with like the cosmic ability. So I do know with that, like as far as Avengers go, as far as you would need all of them. I feel because like you would have to have a mind of Reed Richards. You would have to have the mind of Bruce Banner, um, Tony, maybe Hank, just to be able to figure out how to get him off the board.
Yeah. And it even gives me goosebumps just to imagine that Silver Surfer technically is a good guy.
Yeah, now he is. He
You know,
was
and
evil
it's
in the
just like,
beginning.
holy crap. Now, could Silver Surfer take on Thanos without Captain
Yes,
Marvel?
yes, hands down.
So are you saying Captain Marvel is weaker than Silver Surfer?
No, Silver Surfer is yeah, Captain Marvel is weaker than Silver Surfer. Like in
So
the
there's
actual
another X-Men per se, or that generation genre that is stronger than Captain Marvel.
well, that's the thing though. Like in the original Infinity Saga, like the comic books, they had to rely on Silver Surfer to help defeat Thanos. Him and Adam Warlock both, um, because the whole Avengers got decimated and all the X Men got decimated. Like you're talking about Wolverines, Adamantium, and Skeleton getting ripped out of him. You're talking about some of the Avengers, like one person gets his head cut off. You're talking about like Vision. Thanos goes up to him, and since he's a robot, puts his hand through his chest and like out of his body, and you see all the wires. Like he just decimates everybody, and it's up to Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock to actually defeat Thanos, really. And even in the end, it's Nebula that actually defeats him because he's so high on power that she wants her revenge against him.
Hmm. Family love? Huh.
But with that, of course, like always, everybody out there, subscribe on YouTube, hit the like button, follow us, do whatever you can, and don't forget to check out that merchandise store. I cannot stress that enough because, again, it just brings the support our way and it shows us some love. And with that in mind, again, as always, if you are an independent director, we'd love to have you on the show, interview you, everything like that. What do you guys think sold the movie the best? The top five. What is your favorite movie? Is there a movie during that year that did not make it on the top five, but is one of your favorite movies? Leave us a comment below. Um, and of course, next week we do have a special guest, Justin Dye, where we discuss 1982. And with that in mind, we hope you guys have a wonderful night. Y'all take care.
Toodles.